I know it's been said time and time again at this point, but Amphibia is in fact in its final act. The endgame, if you will.
Stop talking!
Look, the sooner you accept it, the better you'll feel down the line. And with that, there's only so much time left to wrap up the plot, develop the characters, and introduce new powers. Give or take 7 months if you factor in a hiatus after Froggy Little Christmas. So I wanted to discuss everything I think needs to happen before Amphibia concludes. It's definitely possible I won't be mentioning some of the stuff y'all have in mind, so if that ends up being the case, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below about what it is specifically. But with all that said, let's begin. Up first is knowing the true identity of the female pink frog. There is extremely little information on this character beyond the fact that she used to be close with King Andrus in the past. She was the one who stole the Calamity box from Newtopia and brought it to Earth, and the possibility she's a planter family ancestor, or somehow on God's green Earth, Sprig and Polly's mother, based off her having the exact same color palette and body type as Sprig, as well as having very rural-like clothing which would blend into Wortwood society very well. Her existence was never mentioned in the planter family shrub, but it's possible her records weren't available due to not only being over 1,000 years old, but because Earth was her last known sighting according to the Natural History Museum's pot, likely being the one to inscribe the message about the mother of Ohms on the pot in hopes of one of the people involved in the prophecy finding it. A character like this who not only knows more about King Andrus as a person than any other character in the series thus far, but may know more about the Calamity box and its stones than someone like Valeriana, needs to have their purpose and or identity revealed. That way the mysteries surrounding the box won't still feel ambiguous by the time Amphibia's series finale airs. Several theories surrounding this character have been made since her debut, like being a previous Calamity Stone power wielder since she, Andrus, and the Greenhorn Toad all have skin colors matching the colors of the Calamity Stones, or becoming immortal as a side effect of the stone's powers, stem from the fact that Andrus is over 1,000 years old and still in very good shape, making the possibility of her being Sprig and Polly's mom more likely by default. Hopefully we'll learn more about her before the mid-season finale. The episode synopses don't hint at anything related to her, but then again, content like that usually isn't touched upon in a sneak peek description for an episode, so we'll just have to wait and see. Next up is something I'm super keen on, and something that I don't really see talked about too much, and that's the appearance of both Sasha and Marcy's parents. With Anne's parents now playing a much more important role in Amphibia than they did in the first 2 seasons, I feel like it's only fair to have the other 2 girls' parents appear in some type of capacity. I want to see if Marcy's parents actually moved out of Los Angeles already. Did they assume the worst already had happened to their daughter after she's been gone for over 5 months? Or did her father opt out of his new job in hopes of Marcy returning to her original home? To be honest, it's also possible her father hasn't even properly started this new job yet. Like, Marcy never said when he was specifically starting. Like, what if the company doesn't allow him to start until maybe 6 months after he got hired for the position or something, you know, maybe even a year? So he wouldn't have any issues with his career while still being able to wait for his daughter to turn up again. Sasha's parents haven't been shown or even mentioned in the slightest. The best information we have to go off of is her parents are at least decently well off if they're able to have a pool big enough for an entire class of kids to enjoy. Since the introduction of Sasha's character, I've wondered if her parents were the main reason she acts the way she does. Like, if her parents were super strict and or neglectful, never letting her get words in, with that kind of home life leading to Sasha wanting to have absolute control outside her home to compensate for that toxic environment, feeling like her words need to be valued more than her peers regardless if they have good ideas too. Even if they just make minor appearances in the season finale, I'd be fairly content with that. Having neither of their parents appear at all by the time Amphibia ends would be pretty upsetting, not gonna lie. Fingers crossed, I have nothing to worry about though. From here, I want to talk about King Andrus and his past with the Knight. I don't believe King Andrus was always malevolent by nature in the traditional sense. He likely did have the plan to go to other worlds since that's what his ancestors did. But was it always necessarily to rule with an iron fist and not care about anybody? Who's to say he didn't come into contact with the Knight before the pink frog took the Calamity box, wanting to manipulate Andrus since he already possessed the most power out of any person in Amphibia, giving the Knight a lot more leverage if he was able to get someone like Andrus to obey him. Perhaps Andrus thought his friends would stick with him regardless, so learning how his friends stole the Calamity box for the greater good and halting him from doing what his ancestors did could have skewed his views on the concept of friendship, feeling like it's pointless if there's even a small chance of them betraying you, or being the one to let them go yourself if your life goals related to your family ties are more important. Those lines that he said in true colors to Anne before he dropped Sprig always make me think about his past with those other 2 by his side.
That's the thing about friends, isn't it? The more you love them, the more it hurts when they go. Allow me to demonstrate.
All of what I said could be completely incorrect, though. Yeah, I'm not necessarily trying to theory craft or anything. I just want to know what's good between Andrus and the Knight. What is it about the Knight that would make King Andrus submit to him? This needs to be explained at some point. Adding on to that, I want to go over the Knight's real name. The Knight technically isn't even this creature's canon name. The fandom just calls him that because of the term the Knight being the thing that's vanquished by the 3 stars in the Calamity Box prophecy. Though I wouldn't be surprised at all if his real name is revealed in the episode Olivia and Yunnan, meaning this would be the earliest topic revealed on the list compared to everything everything else that's been mentioned so far. His real name may very well be the Knight, which means us Amphibia fans are 5 head as hell if we actually predicted that. Knowing what his true form looks like would be ideal too. I have a feeling that what we've been seeing so far isn't what he originally looked like, but on the off chance it is, the scenery he's been in has been super dark so far. There could be more than just a giant circular figure with several eyes if Andrus, turned the lights on a little bit down there. What are you trying to hide, man?
Show yourself!
Now onto one I'm sure everyone wants to see, and that is Sasha and Marcy's Calamity Forms. Their full powers were not given the chance to shine in true colors along with Anne's, because their respective temples completely drained their powers 100% of the way. But in order to stop King Andrus, his Frobo Armada, and the Knight, those two girls need to pick it up in the power level department, because Anne cannot do it alone. Probably the best way to go about getting their powers back is returning to the first and third temples. Needing the stones themselves won't be necessary since the temples themselves are what gave the stones their energy back. Who's to say the temples can't do the same energy transfer with just one of the girls there? I brought up the possibility in my last video that in order for Marcy in particular to get her powers back, it would actually be the Knight in her body going back to the temple by himself or along with Andrus, wanting to use these powers to his advantage. If not, then the green liquid Marcy is in could be energy from the box Andrus is transferring into the tube, in hopes his lord will be more powerful once Marcy's wound has healed. As for Sasha, it would be cool to see her meet up with Valeriana for the first time so she can push Sasha into the right direction. Out of the 3 human heroines, I'd say Sasha knows the least about the Calamity Box and how the stones work. Valeriana finding her, whether through coincidence or intention, would be good for both of them. Valeriana's knowledge would help Sasha be more prepared for the final battle and put the prophecy back on track. Adding on to the Calamity powers, I'd hope we learn about the unique powers each of these stones has besides the classic super strength, speed, and ability to float. When it comes to what these unique powers would be for Sasha and Marcy, Mr. Vox from the Roundtable had some pretty dope ideas from a video he did back in August that I very much resonate with. Saying Sasha's unique ability could be the power to entice others, allowing their physical and mental state to be significantly enhanced to better equip them for battle, very much like Metal Liberation Army member Trumpet's quirk. Wow, Mark, does making My Hero Academia references in your Amphibia videos ever get old?
No.
This possibility being further backed up by those toad soldiers throughout seasons 1 and 2 having glowing pink eyes, then having yellow eyes again after Sasha's powers were drained. As for Marcy, there's several possibilities with a power surrounding the mind, future sight to dodge attacks, reading others' thoughts to open chances for mental manipulation, or being able to move objects or even people with telekinesis and or psychokinesis. Someone like the Knight would definitely take advantage of the mental manipulation, that's for sure. But if Marcy was in full control, I think telekinesis would suit her nicely. The final thing I want to go over, which is something I guarantee we'll know by the end, but it's for sure worth mentioning, is the state of the Calamity Box itself. As in, will it still be able to function as it does right now without being controlled by the wrong person in the end? Or will destroying it be the only option the good guys have left to make sure it's never used for evil again? If the second outcome were to happen, that means Anne would never be able to see the planners again, or anyone who's native to Amphibia she became friends with for that matter. How heart-wrenching would it be for Anne to choose whether to never see her best friend Sprig again if it meant saving the Earth? I feel like if it came down to keeping the Calamity Box away from Andrus for good, they wouldn't have to destroy it though. There are other worlds out there besides Amphibia and Earth according to Andrus's book. What if one of the worlds it can travel to isn't inhabited by creatures smart enough to use it for evil? Just simply open a portal to that world and toss it in. Once again, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts about the ideas presented today. The specifics about said events that I concocted don't even have to happen the way I presented either. If the general ideas happen at all, I'd be very content with that. But I do feel like the majority of the things I have presented in this video have a high chance of happening. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.